Steve, you thought the players were okay on Saturday. Has that been the case in training this week?
Okay in terms of mentally, you mean?
Yeah, I think that's what you meant, wasn't it, on Saturday?
Yeah, I think okay. I mean, at the end of the day, they're never going to be like, jumping through hoops when you get beat. Or if they are, then there's no point in being involved in the game, is there? So, at the end of the day, last week was a tough game. It was made more difficult by the refereeing decisions that went against us. But then I have to say, to be honest, we probably shouldn't let the refereeing decisions affect us, because we've had so many go against us this season. So many, one penalty we've had all season. I'm sure I looked at it. Gateshead have had 12 penalties this season. I mean, we've had one. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have had their 12, by the way, but how many more should we have had? So I think the penalty. I think it was a joke decision. It took him, 10 or 12 seconds to give it, and then he wants to pass the responsibility to the linesman. What's the point of passing that responsibility to the linesman? I can't see it, and the linesman couldn't see it from where he was. So that just, we get in at half time and, all of a sudden it ends up being a different game then.
Apart from decisions going your way and possibly not taking your chances, what is missing for you, do you feel?
Not a lot. We're third in the table. Why, what do you think's missing then?
People being reminded of that, probably. And I don't just mean the players, I mean the fans, in terms of...
Yeah, fans have been great this year. We can't complain about, we don't have massive numbers. Fans have been good this year, they travel around the country, I think it's a year ago this weekend, we ended up getting relegated. It's not bad what's happened in a year, I don't think. Would we like to be higher? Yeah. Would we have liked to win more games? Yeah. Do I think we deserve to win more games? Yeah. So, I don't know. It seems like, when there's ever, a couple of hiccups or the team hasn't played well, it seems like it's the end of the world. It can't be like that. I can't afford to be like that with the players. Otherwise, who motivates them, who tries to get them going, who trains them all the time. So, no, I wouldn't, what we're talking, it won't be every fan. I think there's lots of fans who have been really, really good this season. Majority of the time they've been good, so I don't really have. All football fans want to win, so I don't know if they need reminding or not. I'll never know that because I don't speak to them, if you know what I mean. I don't know, and I'm not on social media. It's not. I don't have time for it for a start. I think it's good. It's good for people to be able to interact. So I'm not against it. I'm just not on it. I don't have time for it.
It's also just over a year since you last lost the league game at home. And obviously you want that run to continue.
What's gone wrong there, are you going to say?
No, what's gone into actually making that happen? Because there's going to be a lot of hard work. But
the same as what goes on away, but you just can't always win away. I mean, it happens. There'll be results that have happened since last Saturday that haven't involved us, and you think, well, I didn't expect that to happen. I sat last Sunday watching St Johnstone against Celtic. St Johnstone at the bottom of the league, Celtic at top by how many points? Who would have put a bet on St Johnstone winning that game? I'll tell you what, hardly anyone. But yet, they pulled out all the stops. They're down the bottom of the table. They're fighting for their lives, or they had something to fight for. So they go and get the win. And then an hour later, you see Fulham beat Liverpool. We've had a tremendous season. The other week we had 5 games in 15 days. So did Liverpool. And the 3 games before it, no one will ever remember. But they'll remember them getting beat by PSG, and they'll remember them losing the cup final to Newcastle. It's sport. That's why we all love it so much. So it's difficult to keep winning all the time. It's difficult to win a league. There can only be, 3 or 4 winners a year in our pyramid. There can only be 2 or 3 teams that win a cup. So it's very difficult. I think that, all in all, I think our I think our fans have been first class. I really do. And I think all in all, the players have been first class. Does that mean we're going to win every game? No. Does it mean our fans will be like they were in the York game, for instance? That's the game that stands out in my head. When we played York at home, I think that's been the best night for me since I've been here. But I don't harp on about that. Sometimes they'll have their good days and their bad days. So, it just happens.
And presumably that York atmosphere is what you'd love this weekend against Gateshead.
No, we'd like that every week if we can. But, for those who might turn around and say, well, the performance has got to be as good. Well, the fans were really good in the first half, but I wouldn't say we were really good in the first half. Look, it's not. There's not a divide here. Well, not that I know that there's a divide anyway. For me, the club is certainly from my area down very together. I think that the team has definitely connected with the supporters since I've been here. I think that there'll be some odd moans and groans. The only thing is, none of our fans will moan or groan or have anything to say like I will. Mine just has to be not down the camera, not to you guys, because it hasn't been a way that I manage. I don't think that's conducive to getting a good relationship with your players or the supporters.
Talking of your players, how difficult or close is the decision this week between Cian Harris and Ben Tozer?
How do you know it's between any of them?
Well, I'm guessing.
Oh.
But, they've both got, great merits, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, So, yeah, it's, you didn't bring up Ryan Innes there, so what's the difference between Ryan Innes and Ben Tozer? So, yeah, you won't be getting any inclination on the team. Whether you've been coming down here early and spying in the bushes and then got a little bit clever with your questions, I don't know.
I thought of that one last night, to be fair.
Did you?
Okay.
Okay.
I wasn't spying down here earlier in the week.
That's good.
Gateshead away. Tough game, but a hard-fought win. What are your memories of it up there?
Yeah, a lot of hard work, a lot of running. You will have a period of time against them in the game where you'll suffer when you don't have the ball. But what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that you keep running and you keep understanding the tactical play that we've done this week. So, yeah, you're going to have to run against them. The other side of the coin is, we're not bad. When we pass the ball well, we're not bad either.
And Gateshead's form of late, obviously they won for the first time in a while at the weekend. What have you made of them recently?
It can happen. It's sport. Teams can get beat. I think they went on, 5 or 6 games before they won at the weekend. Just goes to show, doesn't it? It can just happen. And you'll come into a time of the year as well where, I talked about St Johnstone, Celtic, Liverpool getting beat last week. If you look in the week, there was some, there was a couple of results that perhaps people wouldn't have anticipated it in the week in our league. So it just happens, and what you've got to do your best is to move on quickly, try not to let it affect you, try and work on the things that we feel as though we can be better at. The biggest disappointment for me last weekend, when I look at it, wasn't about missed chances or penalties or whatever like that. I think the referee's performance affected some of our guys mentally. When you're running around and there's a bit of a bobbly pitch and not necessarily a nice day, it can affect you. What it can't do, we can't let it affect our running. Our running is normally really good, but last week, I mentioned to the lads when we had a slight coming together for a drinks break after 20 minutes, something happened, and I said to him, the only thing I said in that was our running needed to be better. Our running all round the team needed to be better than what it was. And then when I get the stats and I look at the stats on Sunday and look at what happened or what was missing that day, the big thing that was missing from our game was our running. Our running stats were low. Sometimes that can happen and you have I don't know. You have no reason to know why is that happening. Is something happened to him mentally? Is it how the game's gone? Was it the pitch being? You could hear him. The pitch wasn't the best, but both teams have to play on it. We understand that, but sometimes when you want to play a bit more of a passing game, that ends up becoming a little bit more difficult. And sometimes as a player, that can demoralise you a little bit.
And talking of pitches, your pitch has been excellent this season. So too have the training pitches. How big a part have they played? And sort of pitches important this time of year.
Well, if we look at what we're doing this week, fantastic. If we look at what pitch we had to go and play on last week, then we may as well not trained on our pitches, because you can't do anything about it, can you? So we're just lucky that we've got what we've got, and the club is very forward thinking in terms of facilities and preparation for things. So the only thing you do is do your best with that, and not moan about it. We got beat last week. We didn't moan the pitch was bobbly or whatever. It just was what it was, and it was the same for both teams.
How are Liam Sercombe and Charlie McCann progressing?
Yeah, they're coming on. We're happy with their progress. One slightly further ahead than the other. But we'll just have to wait and see. We've got a little bit more time with that.
And everyone else okay?
Yes.